sounds very benign. This is an authoritarian takeover of our country. So I don't want to hear constitutional crisis. This is an emergency. And to me, all the things you're mentioning, they sound great in a normal situation. Let's elect people, let's do that. Of course we're going to do that. But we need to think outside the box. Donald Trump is counting on you thinking inside the box. He's hoping we don't think outside the box and we do the normal things. And I want to say, Eric, are you asking for Chuck Schumer to step down so we can get new leadership in there? AOC needs to be in the House. We need new leadership. And I also want to say, all those problems, Donald Trump is about to defy the courts. He's already done it. Soon he's going to defy the Supreme Court. That's the plan we need. What are we going to do to enforce? And the operative word is enforce the Supreme Court of this land. And we have to think outside the box. Thank you.
You showed up today. You keep showing up. You're showing fight. My colleagues have to show fight. My colleagues have to show the fight that you're showing. I'm all in. I've got a loss. I've got the only lawsuit that's left against Donald Trump. There's only one that's left. It's me and the January 6th cops. That's it. I testify. I'm the only member who testified in Colorado to keep him off the ballot because he committed insurrection. So, yeah, I'm all in. But I'm telling you, the divide in our party right now is not left versus center left. It's old tactics versus new tactics. Old tactics ain't cutting it. Old tactics ain't cutting it. So what I'm suggesting to you is we need to be more public, we need to be louder, and we need to be everywhere. That will get their attention in the interim, as I said, as we see these speed bumps in the courts and we build toward the midterms, but we can't be quiet. They're counting on us to shrink, they're counting on us to shrink, and they're counting on us to hide under the bed. What we saw in the Senate was shrinking and hiding under the bed. The reason that you do not give them longer than 30 days is not to negotiate a bipartisan agreement. That's what Schumer said. He said we should give them at least 30 days so we can negotiate a bipartisan agreement. No, you give them 30 days because you can't trust them. You give them 30 days at a time because you don't trust that they're going to honor the spending that protects us from bird flu. When they get rid of bird flu monitors, firing nuclear scientists, firing FBI agents. When we started the year with the terrorist attack, getting rid of CDC scientists as measles rages. I don't trust these guys for longer than 30 days. That process argument was bullshit, and it didn't connect, and it's not the message that we want. We should have been socializing this earlier. And by the way, anyone who said, Democrats, are you willing to shut down the government? Bullshit. They have already shut it down. They already shut it down. We shouldn't have done that. Next question. Yeah.
West Pinellas now. The Democratic Women's Club of Upper Pinellas. The Pinellas Young Democrats. And the Pinellas Democratic Party. We're going to take your questions in a moment. But I want to tell you why I'm here. Because small victories will lead to big victories. Small victories will lead to big victories. And I want you to think about, we're in the home of spring training. I was a college athlete. That's how I was able to be the first in my family to go to college. I was the son of a cop and a mom who raised 4 boys, made ceramics, wedding cakes, and ran a very large, unlicensed daycare facility. But they worked their asses off so I could have that opportunity. And a college coach would always tell me, every time we started a season, think about what you want the last game and the last moment of that game to feel like. And right now, for our democracy, we know what it felt like in November. So as we start this season of democracy that'll take us to November 4th, 2026, today is about you thinking about what do you want that day to look like. To me, it's a day of celebration. It's a day of accountability. It's a day of redemption for our democracy. It's a day where we cut our time in hell in half by winning the midterms. And so we will be driven by our values of hard work, where hard work means in a free market economy, we all work hard, do better, dream bigger, and that we reject a free-for-all brolyarchy economy. It means we respect our veterans. This president has fired more veterans than any president ever. It means that we respect our law enforcement officers. They work hard to protect us, so you don't put back into the community 1,600 people who violently attack them. And we are guardians of your health care security. Those are the values that I believe in, that you believe in, regardless of what party you're from. Those are just American values. My partner today in this is my friend, former colleague, representative to this area, former Republican colleague in Congress, now independent. And I'm going to introduce him in a moment, but also with us today, some other former electeds or candidates that I want you to know about. And David's going to introduce most of the Florida electeds. Two friends of mine, former CFO for the state, Alex Sink. Alex, thank you for being here. And badass mom and fighter, Whitney Fox. David.
Hey, is this guy phenomenal or what? Right? I thought we were all showing up to try to save the country. I think we're just showing up to see Eric Swallwell this morning. Right? Well, both. Listen, this is not a pairing we would have seen 6 or 8 years ago, but these aren't the politics of 6 or 8 years ago. The politics are different now and the stakes are so much higher. We do not make America great by abandoning our veterans, by abandoning our seniors. We do not make America great with a xenophobic attack on immigration and on immigrants sitting right here in this country, in the state and in this room. We don't make America great by attacking the judiciary and attacking the press and attacking anybody that's a critic. And we certainly don't make America great by using the powers of the White House to bend people to their knees. And I will tell you what is obvious in this room right now. Nobody in this room is going to bend to their knees. We have an opportunity, as Eric said, in 2026 and 2028 to use the one lever of democracy that is available to everybody, to inject accountability, to have someone like Eric Swallwell calling Elon Musk and calling Howard Lutnick and calling everybody else in this administration to a hearing table in front of the United States Congress. That's going to happen. And we like to think that campaigns end and then you get a little respite, you get a little brief period of relaxation. That's not it, folks. That's not this cycle. And I love this, and I love the way Eric framed this at the beginning. You know, going into the November elections, we go into Democratic rooms and say, isn't this a great time to be a Democrat? And everybody would cheer. And then December and January happened. You'd ask that same question, and there was a little bit of restlessness. Folks, is this a great time to be a Democrat? Or what? This is it. It is today's Democratic coalition, today's Democratic Party that's going to save this country from what we're seeing. If you were trying to tear apart the country from within, you would do what Donald Trump has done in the first 65 days of his administration. You would try to wreck the economy, put taxes on consumers, taxes on exporters, get into trade wars, run away from our economic allies. You would break long-standing security alliances with the West that have fought tyranny and kept us safe. And you would suspend federal services to people who need it most. That's how you wreck the country from within. And listen, we all feel the despair. We know the despair, but we've turned despair into action. I'll tell you, whether it's self-therapy, looking in the mirror in the morning, or whether it's political analysis, choose your poison. But I recite to myself often three things: oppose, propose, and prepare. We have a responsibility to oppose what this administration is doing. I disagree with the analysis that says lay down and let Republicans do what they want. It's not it. We oppose them. We oppose them. I'll also say, I think everybody in this room knows we also have to be defined by what we're proposing to the American people. We're bigger than just saying no to Trump. We're actually willing to fight for people. We're willing to say we can be the party that fights to cure childhood cancer and actually fund the research that does it. We can be the party that fights for tax cuts for the working class. We can be the party that says maybe not taxing Social Security is a great idea, but how are we going to pay for it? Maybe by rolling back taxes on the rich, or rolling back tax cuts to the rich. Sorry. We can be the party that says there was an immigration bill offered by conservative Republican Tom Lankford and negotiated with Vice President Harris that everybody agreed to before Donald Trump blew it up. We can be a party that proposes solutions that meet voters where they are right now. And then finally, we prepare, which is what we're doing right now. Listen, these organizations that Eric just mentioned are the organizations that will mobilize, that will activate, that will get voters out in 26 and 28. Many of you, thank you for your kind words. I've said, Eric and I, we see you on MSNBC. Thank you for watching. Some of you have heard me say this. If you haven't watched the last 4 years, you've probably saved a lot of money on alcohol or therapy or the calories or something. Use that money to give mightily to the Pinellas Democrats, the Florida Democrats. Yes. Choose your mobilizing organization and support them. I do want to make sure we recognize the electeds that are in the room, and then I'll toss it back to Eric. Yep. Many of you have been warriors in this fight for a long time. Thank you. Some of you are probably first-time attendees here. Right? We have a few? My wife Laura's here. She and I have a 3-year-old and 5-year-old. We took them to their first rally for Vice President Harris in the Villages in November. It was right after the convention, and my wife watched last night, and she came out in the living room and said, I think I'm a Democrat. And she went online and became Florida's newest Democrat that night. But what I'll tell you is even yesterday, it had such an impression on our kids at their first time rally. Our 3-year-old was walking around the yard yesterday saying, we're not going back. So some are first time attendees, some have been a long time here. Eric recognized Alex C. Thank you for your leadership, Alex, former CFO, gubernatorial nominee, Democratic and progressive leader. Renee Flowers from the Pinellas County Commission is here. Mayor of Safety Harbor, Joe Ayub is here. City of St. Pete Councilor Gina Driscoll is here. Former St. Pete Mayor Al Johnson is here. St. Pete Beach Mayor, sorry. And this is one I have a lot of fun with. She's no longer in office, but she's served this county for 50 years in the state legislature and on the county commission. Give a welcome to Janet Long. And I'll do the last awkward thing. Did we miss any electeds? Because if so, stand up and introduce yourself. I'm not going to create an embarrassing moment. All right. With that, we're going to give it back to Eric for run the show.
So actually, Jordy's going to lay out the format here. Most importantly, we want to hear from you. So Jordy, why don't you tell us how it's going to work? And can we just thank Jordy again? He organized this with 5 days.
Okay, how's the audio? Can everybody hear me? Thank you all. Give your guys yourselves a round of applause. I know that the parking was tough. I know that the spacing here.
Yeah.
Look what we did.
Yeah.
Look what we did. Now, I know many of you. I was born and raised in Pinellas County. This used to be my congressman. Yeah.
He never voted for me, though.
Still voted, 9 or 10. But you know what? And you know what? You guys are all here now for the same reason, right? Because somebody that we expect to be here is not. And the issues that matter the most to you are not being addressed. I think that's important. My mother still lives in this county, so it still affects me personally, right? Now, I want to make sure we set some guidelines. We just had a town hall like this last weekend, went smoothly. We've got a lot of good Democrats, Republicans, independents, even some people from out of town here today, and we're all going to be very respectful, right? Yeah. I'd like to thank the property manager, Gosha, for opening up this venue with only 4 days' notice. As one of the most important guidelines today, look to your left, look to your right. These are your neighbors, okay? We're going to be kind, we're going to be patient, and we are going to be respectful. We're going to take as many questions as possible. We're on a tight deadline. And you know what? We hope that there's more of these opportunities in the future. Many of you continue to call, email, text, and even show up at Anna Paulina Lou's office. We're going to keep on pressuring her to hold one of these herself, hopefully at a venue even larger than this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and bring the mic around to some folks who've got questions. Wow, it was very fast. And we're going to be covering a few very important topics. We're going to be discussing the economy. There's a lot of, I know many of you brought up concerns about budget cuts in DC. We're also going to be talking about Social Security and Medicare and the concerns that are affecting you guys here directly. So I'll go ahead and pass the microphone along as Congressman Swallwell. Please feel free to point out anybody.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jordy. I'll let you do it.
Sure, we've got a volunteer with a microphone, so please.
Yep, got it.
Okay, I'd like to be extremely respectful for the folks who came out. Do we have any veterans in the room? Please raise your hand. Also,
Great.
This gentleman here on my right.
Why don't you give him a question?
Please feel free to say your first name. No need to say your last name, your zip code, and then go ahead and repeat your question. Thank you.
My name's Al. I'm the Florida State President and representing letter carriers. Also, disabled veterans of Vietnam. So, this question and my gratitude to both of you is for standing up not only for veterans, but we understand that the Postal Service is under attack. Not only because we're a union, but because we are a powerful union that get people out to vote. We were the instrument that got vote by mail in the state of Florida. This is one of the issues that the Trump Association, but I don't even call them a team anymore. They just associated to destroy America. But as far as that, we're not going to let them. And I agreed with Eric 100%. We cannot do anything, but I need your support tomorrow. My question is, help us. Tomorrow we have a rally at Tyrone Square Mall on the corner of 66 to save the United States Postal Service. It's a nationwide demonstration We are needed and wanted and the most trusted government agency 10 years running. We are the eyes and ears of your community. It starts at 12 o'clock till 2 o'clock. I just wanted to tell you, thank you for your support of both of these ex-congressmen. David, I've known for a long time. Eric, glad to see you here in Florida. We appreciate all the hard work and don't ever stop helping America.
Thank you. So let me just say to this, you know how you fire up and piss off a senior or a mom? You mess with their prescription drugs that come through the mail or the baby formula or the diapers that they need on the porch. You do that, and I don't know if I can help you if you're going to mess with that. So we're going to mobilize and make sure that the Postal Service, which has been making money for the U.S. government because they've been contracting with Amazon and other online retailers, that they don't go away. But we know why they want to take them away. They want it to be privatized so that the wealthiest in America can benefit from it, and also so they can screw with your votes. That's it. That's it. They want to tear down vote by mail because that is our path back. We can't let that happen. And no Democrat should vote for any budget that ever does that. Period.
Hi, my name is Lisa, and I want to say, for the record, I'm here speaking out against what's happening, and no one's paying me to do so. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. I'm engaged in this fight, and I feel like I'm doing all that I can, but I get scared on so many levels. I fear that the programs my daughter, who's disabled, and my mom, who depend on, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. I worry that they're going to be cut. My biggest fear, though, is that we will soon be at a point of no return. Like the resistance that's building. Oh, I'm sorry. The resistance that's building will be too late. This administration is dismantling our government at warp speed. We're hoping the courts will hold, but we inch closer to a constitutional crisis each day. My question is, I don't know if we can wait for midterms to undo the damage. I don't know that we can wait for the midterms to undo the damage. At what point do we acknowledge that this administration has gone too far? And what do we do if and when that happens? And speaking of midterms, how do we even know that we'll have a free and fair election?
Yeah. So I think your question is also on that sign, which says, what's our plan? First and foremost, please, if you are supporting the organizations like Democracy Docket or Democracy Forward, they are funding these lawsuits in the courts. And they have put speed bumps on much of the wrecking ball that Musk and Trump have put forward. We can't count on speed bumps ultimately to save us, but in the most recent case that made it to the Supreme Court, we did get a victory, a 5-4 victory on the USAID funding. So we have to keep putting up the speed bumps. And you're going to say to me, he is going to violate, and he is violating court orders. To that, I tell you, we have Democratic attorneys general in Michigan, in Wisconsin, in California, in New York, in Colorado, in Illinois. They need to meet a constitutional crisis with their own constitutional crisis. They are the chief law enforcement officers in their state. They have the power to hold people accountable who do not follow the law. And so we should expect them to start doing that. You're going to break the law. We're going to hold you accountable. Don't come see my indictment in New York. See my indictment in California. That's what the attorneys general should do. They are the chief law enforcement officers. If you don't follow court orders that affect the people in your state, they should step up, and they have the power to do that. And you should expect them to do that. They have that power. The courts, they are run by the Marshal Service. And the Marshal Service is under the executive branch. They can't enforce any of the court orders. I am working in Congress to give the courts their own police, their own security, take it outside of the executive branch. But our attorneys general, they have, as I said, they have to fight this crisis by using the laws that they have. They can do that. What's the plan? April 1, Wisconsin Supreme Court. Folks, let me tell you, why do we care about the Wisconsin Supreme Court? Well, Elon Musk is spending $10 million there, but that's not the reason we care. In Wisconsin, the Republicans have stolen 2 congressional seats from us with the most ugly, despicable gerrymandering you've ever seen. In that state, it's 6 Republicans, 2 Democrats, except you have a Democratic governor, a Democratic lieutenant governor, a Democratic attorney general, a Democratic U.S. senator. This judge would be the tie-breaking vote to give us a shot for those maps to be 4-4. Why does that matter? We're 3 seats short of being in the majority in the House. That gets us 2/3 of the way there. Help the Wisconsin Democrats. Go to WisDems. Sign up to take a shift, to make texts, phone calls, send in $30 so that they can get people out to vote. That seat matters. New Jersey, Virginia, that's in November. We need to win the governorships in those seats because we need, to your point, the electoral infrastructure so we can flip 2 to 3 seats in each state in the midterms, and in 2028 that we have a state where we can even compete and have free and fair elections for the Electoral College. And by the way, small victories can build big victories. Just like in sports, momentum is everything. If you win and help us win in Wisconsin, and then we win in Virginia and New Jersey, folks, we are building momentum. We're getting more and more people out to care about this. And also, right now, people like Whitney Fox all over the country in the toughest seats that we have to flip are making a decision about whether or not they want to run for Congress. They know that to win, they're going to have to crawl over glass, walk over coals. Their families are going to be subjected to the worst things imaginable, but they know it's worth it. It's worth it if they can win. And you help us win in Wisconsin, Virginia, and New Jersey, you warm the waters and you make them want to come in. And we get the top tier candidates. No, we need the top tier candidates. We need the top tier candidates to want to run. My promise to you, I am all in to flip the 13th. I am all in to flip the Miami area seat. Hell, I'm all in to flip the Senate seat here. So we have a majority in the Senate. So I'll do the work with you. All I'm asking each of you to do, and I'll do it with you, is go 1 rung higher. Whatever you did in the last election, let's just start right now. Go 1 rung higher. If you've never gone to a public protest, go tomorrow with this veteran. If you've never made a small contribution, make one in Wisconsin. If you've never signed up to volunteer on a congressional campaign, volunteer for the candidate who's going to help us flip the seat. Just start going 1 rung higher. I promise you, we will get to the top, we will win these seats, and we'll cut our time in hell in half. Next question.
Hey, Eric, let me jump in.
Yeah, go ahead. You want to?
I want to jump in something really quick here. We have 2 special congressional elections happening right now in the state of Florida. These are long odds for Democrats, but what we are seeing right now is a movement that can conquer long odds. And I think what Eric's speaking to is this. Look, $6 million has been raised for the Democratic candidate in Matt Gaetz' super Republican seat. Things are changing on the ground, and the one thing politicians understand is fear, political fear. When they see votes moving against them, when they see communities moving against them, they respond. And this is what's happening right now in this moment. I'll also tell you something Eric can't tell you. That includes Democratic leadership sometimes changing their decisions. Eric and every single one of his House Democratic colleagues stood up to the Republican budget, and they said no. Forgive me. It got to the Senate, and Chuck Schumer told everybody in this room, you're wrong, and I'm right, and I'm going to go along with it. That can't happen, folks. These aren't normal times. This is not a normal budget. This is not a normal president. This is a constitutional crisis. And we have to meet the moment with different tactics. Chuck Schumer basically said, I don't want Democrats to be the story. This is the time for Democrats to be the story, and you're making it the story right now.
All right, let's take our next question, Jordy. Did we lose Jordy? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Maddie. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. It's a great point. Yes.
Hi, Eric. Thank you for coming. David, thank you as always for representing us. My name's Sherry. I am from St. Pete Beach. I lost my home and everything in it, Hurricane Helene. I want you to know that the FEMA people have been remarkable and have saved my life and my family. We simply cannot lose FEMA funding for us and everybody else in this country who needs it. And I want to also point out that it's SBA that worked with FEMA, so it's a whole process that needs to be intact in order for us to be back to a whole. We just want to be back to where we were. And I want to just ask if you can help us with that. I know that we have some representatives here who have not supported FEMA. And instead, or I guess we want to put his name on Mount Rushmore. I guess that's more important than FEMA. But I just want to ask you for your support and what you're going to do.
I'm sorry that happened to you. Can I just, by a show of hands, who else had damage to their home from the hurricane? So just keep your hands up, because I want Anna Paulina Luna to see this, because she supports getting rid of FEMA. She wants FEMA gone, and you are the people who would benefit from that. I'm not going to support anything that gets rid of that. I want more people like Kathy Castor in Congress, who has been helping her constituents, and fewer people like Anna Paulina Luna. But what to me is such lunacy, as you would say, is that we know because of climate chaos, we're going to see more and more of these storms. And as you're either being denied insurance or the insurance rates are through the roof, thank you, Governor DeSantis, what you expect is that in a crisis, we take care of each other. And I want David to speak to the FEMA question, but I'll tell you this, when I was 11 years old, I came to Florida for the first time. My dad grew up between Florida and California, and it was a family reunion, and it just so happened to be in August of 1992. And it just so happened that we were there a couple days before Andrew, and we were in Kendall, and we had cousins in Homestead. And I remember huddling in a bathtub in the bathroom with my 10-year-old little brother and my father, and we would wake up and we'd see that the entire neighborhood was wiped out. Our Homestead family lost their home. But I saw the country come together. I saw that months later, after George H.W. Bush lost and Bill Clinton came in, he wasn't punitive toward Florida, that the country helped rebuild South Florida through FEMA and other aid. That's what we do, damn it. That's what we do as Americans. In a crisis, we come together. We don't rip communities apart.
Hey, thank you. And I also want to point out, we're talking about natural disasters that affect the country, whether it's Tornado Alley in the Midwest or wildfires in the West, or it's hurricanes in Florida. My opinion, I hate the left-right spectrum when you try to nail somebody down on ideology. Here's what I'll tell you. Government exists to fill in where private markets fail. And that can be true about the Postal Service, who is required to deliver universal service to the last mile in Alaska and the most remote areas in the world, that guess what privatization could never accomplish. That's why government has the US Postal Service. Government exists where the healthcare market has failed. There's a reason Pete Buttigieg is complimented for saying, I want Medicare for all who want it, because the private health insurance market has failed. What we know in Florida is the insurance market has failed. I kind of feel like Alex Sink could get up and give us a masterclass or tutorial on this one, but here's what I'll tell you. This is an area where I think Democrats could lead in the state and lead nationally. We need a state catastrophic fund that is capable of absorbing natural disaster risks when storms strike and restoring the private market to just covering non-natural disaster perils. Guess what? I priced our home policy, it would drop by 70%. FEMA provides the immediate emergency needs. And it was wrong for Luna to vote to repeal that or to defund it about 5 days before the storm hit. But we've got to think bigger, folks, as a coalition. We need a state natural disaster fund. We need a national catastrophic fund. It is the clearest, most direct way to tackle the affordability crisis here in Florida. And guess what Ron DeSantis and Republicans will tell you? That's socialism. I don't care. It'll take care of Floridians when he's not doing it.
Thank you. Let's get our next question.
Hello, my name is Lisa. I'm from Largo over here. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa.
And, I just want to say I'm really so happy to hear what everyone is saying. You said, I'm sorry, honey, that this is a crisis. When you say constitutional crisis, to me that sounds very benign.
Okay.
This is an authoritarian takeover of our country. This is an emergency.
Yeah.
And to me, all the things you're mentioning, they sound great in a normal situation. Oh, let's do that. Of course, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
But we need to think outside the box. Donald Trump is counting on you thinking inside the box. He's hoping we don't think outside the box and we do the normal things. And I want to say, Eric, are you asking for Chuck Schumer to step down so he can get new leadership? AOC is to be in the House. We need new leadership. And I also want to say, all those problems, Donald Trump is about to defy the courts. He's already done it. Soon he's going to defy the Supreme Court. That's the plan we need. What are we going to do to enforce? And the operative word is enforce. The Supreme Court. Outside the box.
So, you showed up today. You keep showing up. You're showing fight. My colleagues have to show fight. My colleagues have to show the fight that you're showing. I'm all in. I've got a loss. I've got the only lawsuit that's left against Donald Trump. There's only one that's left. It's me and the January 6th cops. That's it. So I testify. I'm the only member who testified in Colorado to keep him off the ballot because he committed insurrection. So yes, I'm all in. But I'm telling you, the divide in our party right now is not left versus center left. It's old tactics versus new tactics. Old tactics ain't cutting it. Old tactics ain't cutting it. So what I'm suggesting to you is we need to be more public, we need to be louder, and we need to be everywhere. That will get their attention in the interim, as I said, as we see these speed bumps in the courts and we build toward the midterms, but we can't be quiet. They're counting on us to shrink, they're counting on us to shrink, and they're counting on us to hide under the bed. What we saw in the Senate was shrinking and hiding under the bed. The reason The reason that you do not give them longer than 30 days is not to negotiate a bipartisan agreement. That's what Schumer said. He said we should give them at least 30 days so we can negotiate a bipartisan agreement. No, you give them 30 days because you can't trust them. You give them 30 days at a time because you don't trust that they're going to honor the spending that protects us from bird flu, when they get rid of bird flu monitors, firing nuclear scientists, firing FBI agents when we started the year with the terrorist attack, getting rid of CDC scientists as measles rages. I don't trust these guys for longer than 30 days. That process argument was bullshit, and it didn't connect, and it's not the message that we want. We should have been socializing this earlier. And by the way, anyone who said, Democrats, are you willing to shut down the government? Bullshit. They have already shut it down. They already shut it down. We shouldn't have to own that. Next question.
My name is Jean, and I live in St. Petersburg. We could talk about all this distractions that we're getting. I'm getting, okay, so I'm in trouble, and they're gonna go after me. This is very Nazi, what's going on in our government. And we can't wait to try to fight each individual thing that's going on. And Donald Trump is going right past Congress, right past the Senate. He's not paying attention to the courts. He's just throwing people out of the country and treating them like we're in the Holocaust.
Yeah.
I mean, this is big stuff. I mean, he's kissing Putin's ass. All right, he is old. I grew up in New York. All right, I grew up when Donald Trump was big. The mafia, the Italian mafia, didn't want to have anything to do with him because he's a backstabbing, bad businessman. All right, and then when he gets elected president, but he gets picked up by Putin. He owes Putin, and he is doing everything that Putin wants him to do. And Ukraine is getting slaughtered. Gaza is having genocide of little children getting blown up because he's with Netanyahu. He is on their side, not on our side. I've never seen this in my 65 years of life. What are we gonna do to stand up and fight for our country, for our Constitution, and for our freedom? What are we gonna do?
We're gonna keep showing up. Let me just say on Ukraine, I had dinner at Columbia Restaurant the other night, a local gem, and a Ukrainian line cook came over to me and Whitney Fox. I was with Whitney and her husband, and thanked us for what we're doing on Ukraine. They see you. They may not express it because they're also worried about, being removed from this country, but they see you and they thank you. And I just want to say this on Ukraine. The history of America, the story of America is we do not leave our friends in the fields. And when I visited Ukraine during the war, and I was in a bunker in Kyiv, and generals and soldiers were briefing me on what they were doing, they told me that they say a quiet prayer every night. They know America has their back. And to abandon them like this, will do damage that our kids' kids will have to answer for. We are destroying the credibility that we have with the world. And I just want you to know, have we spent a lot of money on Ukraine? Yes. Do you know where that money has been spent? Here. Do you know who it employed? Americans. And do you know how many Americans have died in Ukraine? So you would say the return on investment is infinity because you can't divide by zero. And this moron wants to somehow associate us with a brutal dictator who is kidnapping and torturing children from Ukraine. I'm not going to let that happen. You're not going to let that happen. You're not going to be quiet about that. And we're going to expect that my Democratic colleagues get a hell of a lot louder about it because those are American values. Next question. Not for much longer.
My name is Johnny.
Yeah.
I'm a gay American.
Hey, Johnny.
I'm married to a Brazilian,
Hmm.
and I have children. Every day, I'm in fear that my kids may be taken over to El Salvador or wherever.
Yeah.
And there's no recourse on finding out what's going on with them. Half of those people, they say now, have no conviction whatsoever.
I know.
My son wants to sign up for the Air Force.
Yeah.
We need to protect the kids.
Yeah. Thank you, Johnny. And Johnny, if I can find you when we're done, I'd be happy to just give you my contact information so that I can help you. Because it's all right. That's all right. She's just got a protest chant. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. John.
All of us lost everything there. Thankfully, my husband and I have the resources to come back. And as Mr. Jolly knows, Florida is an area where we really need NOAA. We really need to have that. So I would like to know from the two of you, showing up and telling them this is not an okay thing to do. Do we show up at NOAA? Do we show up at lunatics? To make sure that we have that information, because if you've never been through a hurricane and got that, none of you have social media, everything in our city is everything was, and if they get rid of all of this information for us, we have nothing. So, and I'm happy, I will go sit on anybody's desk that I need to, but really start to let them know that that's what
David, real quick. If you have parked in front of McDonald's, they're telling us that they're going to start towing folks. So just check it out. Maybe find a buddy system, someone who can help you move or watch the car for you. But I don't want to see that to happen to anyone. But go ahead, Dave. Yeah.
So I think there's a thread between this question and a community impacted by what essentially is the discretionary budget of the United States that Chuck Schumer agreed to just go along with Republicans defunding many of the services that we want. We talk about a constitutional crisis. I like the stronger terms you are using. I often like to point out, though, we have a crisis today, not just because Donald Trump and his malfeasance. He's the bad actor in this. But we have a crisis because Republicans had rolled over and the Republicans in the House have collapsed. And one of those people is your representative, Anna Paulina Luna. We have a constitutional crisis because the Republican Congress refuses to hold Donald Trump accountable and because they go along with the bad priorities and bad decisions. There is no way to fix this without changing who's in control of the House. And this is, listen, my greatest disappointment with what Chuck Schumer did. I understand the political strategy. I disagree with it. I understand the strategy. Don't make Democrats the story. Here's the problem. Eric's lived through a dozen or so of these annual spending bills. Typically, the minority party, in this case, the Democrats, say, well, we went along with it because we got a few wins. We restored funding for NOAA, or we restored funding for FEMA. There were no Democratic wins in this budget. This was a Republican budget that Senate Democrats decided to go along with and has created the problem about discretionary spending and how NOAA is funded. One of the ways you tear apart the country as well is you fire all the experts. The clinical research scientists, the medical research scientists, the people who work with us on weather. I'm telling you, the answer on this is not just being honest about climate resiliency and the need for more climate resiliency, being honest about climate change. It is to recognize that the markets in Florida and California and other places have failed. This is a time for big ideas, and we're not getting big ideas from Anna Paulina Luna. It's not what she says. It's not that she goes on a tour with President Biden when he comes here. Watch what she does. She votes against you. She votes against you. Listen, one of the things that she's rightly taken on is that moms in Congress need more maternal leave and to vote by proxy. Some people agree with that. Some people disagree with that. That's a wonderful thing, in my opinion. I'll tell you what's a terrible idea that she's done. Wanting to cut Medicaid, which pays for 41% of births in the country and provides for maternal and early childhood care. That's what she has done. If you want to take care of children, you don't abolish the Department of Education, which provides 25% of funding for Pinellas County schools. She's wrong on this issue. Republicans in Congress are wrong on this issue, and the way to fix it is to elect Democrats.
And we just got an update that Anna Paulina Luna cannot be here today. She's chiseling Donald Trump's orange hair into Mount Rushmore right now. So that's just the latest update. Next question. Yes, please. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
David, run for governor so we can.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
I'm going to keep this short and say thank you for that. Thank you for the encouragement. There's no decision yet, but pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah. You have another question, sir? Yeah. Yeah.
Hungary.
Yeah.
Viktor Orban.
Yeah.
What did the people start doing the first day that he was elected? They started protesting. Did it fix it?
No.
No, it didn't. It's
Yeah.
never going to, Eric.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This 250-year-old democracy experiment is done.
It's not done. Not done. Yeah. Yeah.
Everything that you guys
Yeah.
do, I'm
Yeah.
not saying don't obey the law.
Yeah.
I understand that. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I believe in the rule of
Yeah.
law. But I can tell, and there are more people here than you think
Yeah.
that believe the same way, that it's done. Donald Trump is a liar, okay?
Yeah.
Donald Trump, I'm gonna make a statement.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is a liar. Donald Trump told us in August that if you vote for me, you will not have to vote again.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that Donald Trump does, is he carries out his promises during the campaign.
Yeah.
We won't have 2 years.
Yeah.
Eric,
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Today, and we do it now.
Yeah.
I understand what you say, but
Yeah.
we have to do it now.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're doing it. And you know what? You're not the only ones. You're not the only ones doing it. Let me tell you. Last night, 33,000 people did the same thing in Denver. If this was the only room doing it, I would be worried. But you're not the only room doing it. You're not alone. There's a long tail now to the effects of what Donald Trump is doing. We didn't march right after the inauguration like we did in 2017. But we are alive now. We are alive now, and we know what we have to do, and we're going to do it. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I just have one
Yeah.
suggestion, because
Yeah.
I know we, the people, are kind of in a bad spot.
Yeah.
What can we do? Who is running Donald Trump? The
Yeah.
oligarch billionaires.
Yeah.
Boycott their business. They need a list of their businesses and boycott them starting now. They won't be back in Trump if they're losing money, just like Tesla's trumping.
That's correct. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Tom, yeah, we're coming to you.
Eric,
Yeah.
David, I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
I
appreciate what this gentleman is saying, but I disagree. I think everyone is here for that reason. I feel that, okay, so 4 weeks ago, last year on May 30th at 1:07 a.m., my mother took her final breath with me watching from Alzheimer's disease. Been a year almost, and I still haven't healed. And the support group around me is wonderful. But 4 weeks ago, this asshole in the Oval Office cut funding to Alzheimer's. And only thing I can think about are the 12 women and the 1 man in my mom's assisted living facility in the care center she's in, who are now alone. You lose so much with Alzheimer's disease. And you are not, the person who gets it is not the only one who goes through it. Every member of your family has Alzheimer's disease. And I want to know, I respect everything you're saying. I love what you do, and I love what you do. How do we stop this maniac from gutting funding that people desperately need? Alzheimer's patients can't fight for themselves because they don't know where they are. We know where we are. We know who we are.
Yeah.
And we know who these two are.
Yeah.
Fight!
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. And they're not alone if we fight for them, but they are alone if their government abandons them. And what I'm hearing from you all is you want to see the fight in me and my colleagues. And so tell my colleagues, keep telling my colleagues, they need to hear from you, and they need to have the same fight that you have all the way to the end of this hell. And we're going to get out of this hell, sir. We're getting out of it. We are linking arms and we're getting out of it. I am not raising a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 3-year-old in this. And I'm not going to be compliant, and I'm not going to be quiet, and I'm going to do everything I can to get us out of it. And sometimes it's small victories, but those small victories will get us to a big victory. And it's not always voting, it's showing up. And it's not always voting and showing up. Sometimes it's using your wallet or what you don't use your wallet on, as was just said. There are so many different acts of defiance. And sometimes, as you said, ma'am, it's writing postcards because that's just what you do, and that makes a difference too. And if we didn't do any of that, of course, we'd be where you are. And if we did just one of those, we probably wouldn't get out of it. But we are doing all of that because we're all in. And if you're not all in, we are all out of freedom. That's it. Yeah, Tom.
Hello?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Tom's just gonna finish. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'll talk. My name is Mary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
He was not doing anything.
Yeah. Go ahead.
My name is Mary.
Hi, Mary.
I'm from St. Pete. I have
Yeah.
a quick question.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, Mary.
Thanks for coming, Eric.
Yeah.
When he defies the court again, what is the step to have him removed besides impeachment? He's defying the court.
Yeah.
And what is the step? What is the next step?
Yeah.
To pull him from the presidency?
Yeah.
Correct. What is it?
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's our attorneys general. We are the biggest states in America. Their chief law enforcement officers are not powerless. And I have been calling on them, and I think each of you should do the same, to tell us what will they do with their legal authority to hold them accountable. We're a federalist state. We're a federalist country. Yes.
The other branch of
Yes.
government that says you have to do this. Take them out. What is
yeah.
in this?
Yeah.
You know, Marshall, whoever.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you, we still have AGs in these biggest states in the country. They need to start telling us what will they do with their chief law enforcement authorities. They have the power to indict lawlessness. No, yeah.
He's defying.
Yeah.
Those are state.
Yeah. Yeah, we go, as I said, we go one rung even higher in how loud and how ever present we are. But legally, the attorneys general have the ability. Yes, yes, they have the ability to use their law enforcement powers, and they need to start telling us what are they going to do when he defies an order that affects their state, because they're not powerless. They're not powerless. Yeah. No, we're not helpless. We're not helpless. We are not helpless. If you're not here because you think you're helpless. So I'm telling you, we're not helpless. Yeah. 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 It's impeachment. Of course it's impeachment. But yeah.
Thank you, folks.
You know what? This is getting Republicans to do their job. You keep doing this. You keep showing up. And we're seeing this in Georgia, in Tennessee, in the most conservative. Yeah. 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 No, it's okay. It's my job. It's what I do. Yeah. You keep showing up like this. You put pressure on those reps. Yeah.
Meal on 33785. $80 for Congress going to help me out of this very, very difficult spot. So I'm very grateful. But what we're going to need, instead of these individuals, when are we going to get a march on Washington? Yeah. With hundreds and thousands.
It'll be a day of love.
Yeah. The big issue is we're losing our democracy. We're scared and we're angry. I talked to a woman from Canada yesterday who's scared. She is afraid that her country is going to be invaded.
Yeah.
We're not here. We're not being nice anymore. Republicans haven't been nice for 40 years.
But one of them was, is,
couple. When you look at all the other laws have been going, Republicans are screaming, screaming. We're not seeing the needle move. What are you about to do? The transgender grandchild, biracial daughter, scared shitless. You know what I mean? Right. The mother lived to be 104. Do you think her money lasted that she didn't have to go on Medicaid? I'm 78. I've seen it all. I've been through the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, when we Democrats thought we had fixed it. Yeah. And you know what we did then? We sat down and we got complacent and we didn't pay attention. Well, our school boards and our commissioners and our mayorships and governorships went right out from under us with the gerrymandering. And we need it now.
Yep.
We have 6 months.
Yeah.
For the experts to take and to and if that man's face goes up there and down.
So Jordy, let me ask you this question, because again, I want to give you wins. Like I want us to pick fights where we can win, and you can build confidence, and we can make change. So, Jordy, did everyone here sign up to be in touch with the Pinellas County Democrats? Has everyone here signed up? Okay, Jordy, will you tell them what they can do in the next 10 days to help us win Wisconsin and the 2 congressional seats in Florida? Will you guys direct them?
super crucial, everyone. I know that you have a lot of anger and you want to direct it in the right place. Calling is one thing. Sure, I used to work in the legislature. I used to have to take a lot of your calls. And I'll tell you this, when you do call, we tally every single time. Economy, affordability, healthcare insurance, of course, the cost of eggs, the cost of groceries, the cost of diapers. That's very important. We tally all of that. But even more effective is Congressional District 1, early voting starts today. Congressional District 6, early voting starts today. If you go to our landing page, I don't mind if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, We've got Democrats out there right now, our young Dems are mobilizing. All 6 of our chapters on the East Coast are knocking on doors right now. And we even have an entire group of NPA coalitions in the Panhandle that are helping Gabe Alamont because she's fighting for 2 fighting. I encourage you all to visit our website. Right there on the landing page is a volunteer hub. If you can't travel, make phone calls. If you FloridaDems.org. If you can't travel, make phone calls. If you can't make phone calls, text. If you guys don't want to do it, either one of those things, and you need a little bit of hand holding, I've been there. That's where I got my start. There's an app called 5 Calls. 5 Calls. When you leave, there are some papers on the desk with a QR code. It'll send you straight there. If you really care about something, but you just don't know how to word it, they've got a script there for you. If you want the most up-to-date information, maybe there was an executive order 2 weeks ago, but it got worse since then. They've got that article linked at the top for your convenience. And again, speak to your neighbors. This does not change without organizing relationally. We can yell to DC, but that's a lot further than the person who's right next to you. You got a lot more common than the person in your class, in your neighborhood, in your zip code, and the person who's probably 5 or 6 tax brackets above you, right? So I appreciate all the energy. I'm going to make this microphone loop around the room to the front. We have some ADA folks I'd like to accommodate, but please keep your questions and direct them to the places where they matter. Thank you.
And to your, ma'am, to what you said about some of the failures you've seen, particularly on Social Security or Medicare, here is one critique of our party. We are weak when we are given power. Let's be honest, we are weak. Republicans with the thinnest mandate pass unpopular agenda items. They put abortion bans in place when nobody's asking for abortion bans. Let's not be so weak when we get power again. Because most people that I know say, you know what? You have the White House, the House, and the Senate. Well, I just want to kiss my little girl goodbye in the morning, send her to school, and know she's not going to be in a mass shooting and she'll come home. So why don't you pass background checks when 70% of gun-owning Republicans want background checks? So bye-bye filibuster. Let's get rid of the filibuster. Let's put term limits on the Supreme Court. Let's get rid of dirty money and dirty minutes in our politics. That seems pretty easy.
Okay, folks, we've got another question here. And go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ann. My husband Jeff is here as well, 33767. I got a more boring question on budget issues. Things like the $3 billion we're paying to gas and oil companies for subsidies, carried interest loopholes on hedge funds, military planes, $2 trillion. I don't see anything being done on those. So why isn't DOGE going after those? And then one other thing is, instead of cutting everything, there's no way we can cut enough to get rid of our debt. How do we do things to increase our revenue? Things like raise the maximum taxable earnings of Social Security. Because lower income people are paying a lot more percentage-wise into that than higher income people. And yet the higher income people is going to benefit more during their whole lifetime.
How about we raise the minimum wage also?
Oh, that too. And then the other thing, I forgot my other thing, but those are things I'd like to address with the budget.
Sure. I'm going to let my colleague, Mr. Jolly, jump in.
I don't want to get all wonky about the discretionary federal budget because everybody would leave. But these are decisions made by the party in control. And this is where I think what Eric and his colleagues did was so important in standing up and saying we're not going along with it. And as I've expressed, I think the Senate Democrats got it wrong. But I want to link this to the broader conversation, the anxiety in the room, the crisis. We feel it. I feel it. There's a pall. There's a heartbreak. There's a fear. Because we feel like accountability is out of reach. We feel like the Supreme Court is ultimately going to screw us. We feel like Donald Trump is going to continue to interfere in ways that break the Constitution. The Constitution is only so elastic, and we're living through a period where we're feeling that. The heartbreak is real. It's shared. The anxiety is real. It's shared. Around our kitchen table, and I'm sure around yours, we wonder, can we make it through the next 2 years? Are we going to be the nation 2 years from now that we have been in the past? And the fear is no. What we know is we can't resort to anything that Republicans would do. Democrats can't have their January 6th. That's wrong. We can only use the tools we have. And that is where the disappointment comes in. That's where the heartbreak comes in. We feel like accountability is just out of reach. It doesn't soothe those nerves to say we've just got to hold on. But holding on and pouring ourselves into a national movement of accountability, which is what this is here. Folks, I shared this earlier. You remember how December and January felt. It was completely hopeless. It was completely hopeless. We felt that way. There was a question about the Florida governor's run. We've been considering it for a long time. We saw the results in Florida in November and thought, there's no way. That was in December and January. It feels very different now in March, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We are here together because we are participating in a national movement that says we don't want Doge cutting services to people while protecting their own deep-pocketed donors. We don't want billionaires running the country. Frankly, we want Democrats running the country. What we have to do, and God bless Eric for being here and being a voice when Anna Polina Luna is not. Sorry, folks, we've got to hold on and get through the next 2 years, but we're not going to get through it if we lay down and give up.
Yeah.
We get through it by fighting like hell. That's what this guy's doing, and that's what y'all are doing.
Hold on and hold each other, right, David?
That's right.
Hold on and hold each other. With another question. Yeah.
My name is Maddie. Is this working?
Yeah. No? You want to use mine?
I can't hear my.
Yeah.
No, it's working. Excellent.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maddie. Most of you know me because I worked on the Whitney Fox for Congress campaign. I'm here to put everybody to say, what are we doing now? Let me tell you, we're working on local elections. I'm a Gen Z that works with other Gen Zs on local elections, and let me tell you something. We just had an election at Wilkes-Barre, and Anna Polina Luna endorsed the person that I campaigned against, and we won.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing anything. No, we're not winning. It starts at local levels, and then we have to go from there. My best advice is keep doing what you're doing. Participate in elections. Go to town halls and talk to your friends and your neighbors. I'm talking to people my age every single day who are so confused in this political climate, and I'm giving them the educational resources to better themselves so they understand this political climate. That's all I have to say. Thanks you guys.
Okay. Let's get another question. Yes. Go ahead. And I'll get that right back.
Oh,
My name is Freda and I'm from 33763.
Hi, Freda.
And I have all the fears that everybody else has. But my big fear is that I remember that during Black Lives Matter, how Trump wanted to shoot everybody on the street.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do when he puts the military on the street to quiet us,
Yeah.
to shut us up at every town
Yeah.
hall?
Yeah.
Yes, he will do it.
Yeah.
And then what do we do?
Yeah. There are more of you and me and us than them. We're not going to let them. We're not letting that happen. We're not letting that happen. I think every parent has a lot of regrets about decisions they made parenting. I only have one, which is I allowed my son to be a Yankees fan. But he is the cutest, smartest thing. So I welcome my boy Nelson, who's with us. And you can see he's going to the Yankees game with me today. Next question, and Maddie, I don't know. Okay, yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Of course.
My father was an Iwo Jima Marines, first Union Candy Clark Company board chairman of the Democratic Party, head of political action. I grew up in politics. I think what we're looking for is unity, and I think we're looking for a leader, a direction. You want me up there April 5th? Great. Where's the bus? Because I'm 3 days away. There is no coordination. We have different groups. Protest here. I'd love to protest every day, but I have to work too. We need a leader. We need direction, and we need you guys. For example, Musk should be being sued, taking all my information. A lawsuit. Actually, what I want to do, since the Republicans did the 1 day thing, the whole rest of the year, so we can't mess with this tariffs, then you should only get paid for 1 day.
That's 1 day too much.
Funny, ruthless, and mean. I mean, I'm not asking anarchy. I'm not asking put a thorn in their side, make their life difficult, and I just don't feel that. I don't think going up to the Department of Education, you're gonna walk in and one guy's standing like this. Oh, we can't bust through when you got like 500 people behind you. We need anger, and we're not saying it. So it just infuriates me. And that's all we're asking.
You're great. You have all directed yourselves here, but you need leadership. You need leadership, and I will tell you the first sign of leadership that I have seen from our party has been in the last couple of weeks when a few of us were going out. I've been in the St. Louis suburbs. I was in Boise a couple of weeks ago. I was in the Denver suburbs 2 weeks ago, and Jasmine Crockett has been out there. Obviously, AOC and Bernie are out there. But this is the first this is the first weekend where I've seen the Democratic Party, and credit to Ken Martin, our new chair. When I told Ken I was doing this, he said, let me do everything I can to work with Nikki Fried here in Florida, and credit to Nikki. They helped us promote this. They helped us find the site with 5 days notice, and they are now standing up, building the plane as we're flying, so to speak, how we can do this every week, everywhere. And I agree with you. Yes, you should have a bus that's sending you to Washington, and organizationally, like, but you know what? And I was happy to pay and work with the local party, to make this happen. And my colleagues, by the end of this, we should have no money in our war chest. We should spend a zero. If any of us have a single penny left on November 4, 2026, we did it wrong. Because we should be investing everything we have to make sure that we save our democracy. And to your point, I said we're weak with power. We're also too nice. And we're too virtuous. And we think that we're trying to win a Harvard Law School moot court competition when we're just trying to win a gut check at the bus stop or the bar room. That's what this is about. We don't elect policies, we elect people. And we need to start telling a better story. We need to start telling a better story.
Agreed. 778.
I do,
Love the comments. And one thing we talked at our house, and we were wondering, what does Putin have on Trump? We need to do that in wherever you guys go. I think we need to hear it. You guys feel the same way? We know immediately that Putin is very smart, very clever. He's got Trump under some spell. Ask him, what does he have over you? Why are you selling this country out? And not only he bring someone in from South Africa that's doing the same thing with all his money. So, but I want to know what Putin have, what you got over him.
Well, I have a follow-up question. What does Putin have on Trump, and what do we get out of it? Because I don't see us getting anything out of whatever this relationship is supposed to be. But I just want to tell you folks, in the history of dictators, they never have a succession plan. They never have a succession plan. And that is what fires me up every day, because they either die in office or they're thrown out. And they will create the electoral infrastructure where there are no longer free and fair elections. We are no longer slipping into a dictatorship. We are in a damn dictatorship. That's what we are in. And so what we have to do is fight every day to have the electoral infrastructure so that we can get him out. That's why 10 days help us win that Wisconsin seat. That's 2/3 of the way there to winning the majority in the House. So please, who here will send a text, make a call, or send $1 to Wisconsin in the next 10 days? Keep your hands up. Can we get a picture of that? Because I'm going to come back and check on all of you, make sure you did. Okay, Wisconsin, we're all in. Okay, next question.
Hi, I'm Tracy, 33703. Thank you both for being here. My question, I have two questions. They're really fast. Representative Swallwell, my question to you, Representative Swallwell, is that what are your colleagues doing? Why aren't they all out? Why aren't all of the representatives
I can hear you. Yeah.
We cannot get the media.
Yeah. 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 If my colleagues are not out today, they sure as hell better be out tomorrow, right? Today proves that if they show up, you will show up. You have proved that. One of my rules for messaging that I have learned is always be on. Always be on. We have learned the hard way that you cannot rely on vertical media. We can't just go to CNN and MSNBC when Fox News has an audience that is 3 times their audience combined. We have to go on Fox News, but more than that, after the 2024 election, I read a Pew Research report that said 68% of Americans who voted in one way or another identify as Christian. You know what I did? I told my staff, find me the top 20 Christian podcasts, put me on them every single week. I'm Christian. I'm not letting you define my faith. So we have to be everywhere, always on. Next question. Yeah. Yeah. I'll get you next. I will see you in Washington on April 5th. You come to Washington, I'll see you there. Go there and go to you next. Yeah.
And I'm from Trinity 34655. I actually have more of a comment and a suggestion.
Yeah.
I think it would be very beneficial for the American public to be made aware of everything that our government does for them. And I think that 6 a dozen or more progressive Democrats every day, 5:30, 6 o'clock, give a press conference regarding everything, the Doge and what they've taken away from you the previous day. I think that the average American has no idea from the time they purchase an airline ticket to the time they get to their destination, everything the government has done for them. And so I think that informing people is the way to go. And I think that that will also help down the road because then people will understand what their tax dollars are actually doing for them.
Right. Jordan, frankly. Yes, and there's no shortage of Dem Avengers who can go out and do that. Yeah, as a group. And I have to tell you, I am so excited and inspired by so many of the newer members who have really stepped up, like Robert Garcia, Maxwell Frost, Jared Moskowitz in Fort Lauderdale. You've got this new group of Avengers, and they're fearless, and they're not held back by the 20th century way of taking on these fights. And I'm convinced that they're going to get us out. And I'll take that back because I agree with you. We can't do it the same way. Another question from a veteran. You're not just a veteran, but if that's all you did, as they say in Hamilton, that would be enough. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. I done some.
Yeah.
Good morning, Congressman. I'm Yuri Timoshenko. I'm a Marine veteran. In my 25 years of being deployed to different spots like Iraq, Afghanistan, one lesson I learned is, the evil will prevail when good people do nothing. And to my shock, I woke up today and saw President Trump envoy Witkoff is stating that he's recognizing Russian gunpoint referendums on occupied territories, Ukrainian occupied territories currently occupied by Russians. Those areas where kids are getting stolen, kids are getting re-educated, get thrown in the paramilitary organizations.
Yeah.
I'm also Ukrainian. I have friends who are from those areas who supposedly pro-Russian, who are so in love in Russia, they slay the Russians to get back to their homes, where their grandparents, where their mothers are currently under Russian occupation. And it's, it's a more like a request, and it's a request should be as simple as the truth itself. I know right now there's a bipartisan bill going through the House resolution, and I think the Republican co-sponsor of it is Fitzpatrick. So I'm asking if you could please co-sponsor that bill and push and reach out across the aisle, because that bill is just going to reinforce that Congress exercising the power of the purse will not recognize any of the territories currently occupied by Russia. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm on Slava Ukraini.